I used to think my marriage was solid, that our bond was unshakable. We'd been together for 11 years, no kids, just us, living a quiet, routine life. But let me tell you, nothing could have prepared me for what I discovered. The betrayal, it didn't just break me. It shattered everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the woman I had trusted with my life. It started off so innocently. 2 years ago, I got some bad health news. I wasn't taking care of myself, and the doctors said I was at risk of developing diabetes, gout, and hypertension. I was scared. My wife, Jane, was scared too. We knew we had to change. We both decided it was time to get healthy. I dropped a lot of weight, about 32 kilograms, and she did too. She looked incredible, and honestly, I couldn't have been prouder of her. I loved seeing her in those tight workout clothes, looking strong and confident. And I felt great too. It was supposed to be a fresh start for both of us. We joined a gym, went together every day, pushing each other. It became our thing. Then I noticed something. At first it was subtle. Men were staring at her. I'm not naive. I know my wife's attractive. She's got curves in all the right places, and she's got these legs that could turn heads. But I was proud of her. I mean, who wouldn't be? But then there was Baldy. Baldy was one of the gym's coaches. He worked out in the afternoons, and at first I didn't think much of it. But after a while, it became impossible to ignore. He started giving Jane more attention. He'd linger around her, make little jokes, always offering to help. It wasn't overt at first, but I noticed. And when Jane started enjoying that attention, when she became more flirtatious, well, that's when I began to question things. There was one afternoon I'll never forget. Jane and I were using the elliptical machines, and there he was again, Baldy, showing off as he took off his shirt to do his crossovers. I rolled my eyes and glanced at Jane, as if to say, "Can you believe this guy?" But she wasn't looking at me. She was staring at him. I saw her lick her lips, that grin on Baldy's face. I swear it felt like a punch to the gut. My heart sank, and in that moment I knew. I knew something was off. Something was changing. I remember telling Jane about it on the way home. She brushed it off, said she hadn't even noticed. But I knew better. She had been staring, and that wasn't the first time. That wasn't the last time. As the weeks went by, their interactions at the gym grew more frequent. I began to feel like the third wheel in what was supposed to be our thing. At first I tried to ignore it, but it was hard to. And then one day, Jane was using the Smith machine, doing squats, and Baldy came over to help. Now I know that sounds innocent, but trust me, it wasn't. He put his hands on her waist, guiding her. The whole thing felt wrong. I stepped in, told him I could handle it, and made him back off. At home, it wasn't any better. Jane accused me of being immature and jealous. She claimed I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew what I was seeing. I knew what was happening. I confronted her, and she admitted that she knew Baldy was making moves on her, but she insisted she'd never cheat. "You're the one with trust issues," she told me. That stung, but I let it slide, hoping it was just a phase. Then things started to get even worse. I had to take a new job with afternoon hours, which meant Jane and I couldn't go to the gym together anymore. We went at different times, barely speaking. I tried everything to hold on to her, but it was like talking to a wall. She didn't respond to my texts, didn't engage in conversation. I felt her slipping away, and it terrified me. I suggested couples therapy, but she said I was the one who needed help. My insecurities, my jealousy, it was all my problem, not hers. I started feeling like a stranger in my own marriage. And then, one day, everything changed. I was sitting with the condo security guard, Mr. P, who was complaining about a shoulder injury. He mentioned something about a massage therapist coming to help Jane. My heart stopped. He said, "Maybe you could get a meeting with your massage therapist." It didn't make sense at first until he showed me a video of none other than Baldy. He'd been visiting my wife under the guise of massaging her. It didn't sit right, but I needed more proof. So I followed Jane. I watched her meet Baldy at the gym, laughing and talking like a couple. They kissed, they held hands. And then, they went into a residential area together. My world shattered. I had to face the truth. I came home, called my dad, and broke down. I had to get evidence. So I did what I had to do. I followed Jane, I checked her phone, I did everything I could to confirm what I already knew in my heart. That night I confronted her. I told her everything. She didn't deny it. She tried to lie, but it was too late. I already had the proof. And that was the moment everything changed. That was the moment I knew this marriage was over. Jane wasn't the woman I thought she was. And Baldy, well, he was just another man trying to tear down everything I had built. I'd been played. My wife had made a choice. She chose him over me, and in that moment I chose to fight back. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. It's not just about the affair. It's about the lengths people will go to when they think they've won. It's about the lies, the manipulation, and the consequences that no one ever sees coming. So stick around. What happens next is not something I ever expected. What I'm about to tell you will leave you wondering, how far can someone go before they lose everything? Stay with me. When I think back to those early years of our marriage, I remember the feeling of comfort, like we were a team, a united front. For over a decade, Jane and I had been through so much together, and I thought we had everything figured out. We didn't have children. Our life wasn't filled with the chaos that parenthood can bring, but it was simple, and it was ours. Our routine was predictable, and in its own way, that made it beautiful. We didn't need anything extravagant, but then life had other plans. 2 years ago, I went for a routine blood test. The results weren't what I expected. I'd always been the kind of person who didn't think much about my health, but the doctor dropped a bomb on me. Diabetes, gout, and hypertension, all looming on the horizon if I didn't change my lifestyle. Those words hit me hard, like a punch to the gut. I was 44 at the time, and those weren't conditions you can just ignore. Suddenly, everything about my future felt uncertain. I remember looking at Jane that day. She was worried too. We'd always been a couple who leaned on each other, and now we both realized we had to make serious changes. We both needed to live healthier lives if we wanted to avoid the fate that awaited us. We agreed to support each other, to make the effort together. It became our mission. I made the decision to get fit, to change my life, and so did she. We both started hitting the gym regularly, dedicating ourselves to a healthier future. I won't lie, it was tough at first. I was carrying extra weight, and shedding those pounds felt like climbing a mountain. But with each step, we got closer to our goal, and I started feeling stronger. Over time, I lost around 32 kilograms. Jane lost about 18, and I could see the transformation in her eyes, her confidence. I remember one particular day when she stood in front of the mirror, looking at herself in those new workout clothes, a small smile creeping onto her face as she looked at the reflection. That moment, her expression, the way she carried herself, was everything I needed to see. She was proud of her progress, and so was I. We were becoming the best versions of ourselves, and for a while it felt perfect. We weren't just transforming physically, it felt like we were transforming as a couple too. We were supporting each other, cheering each other on. It wasn't just the weight we were losing, we were building something stronger than just muscle. We were building trust, a partnership that was evolving into something I thought would last forever. But then came the gym. It started off as a place where we could bond, a shared activity we could do together. We went almost every day in the afternoons after work. We'd arrive, change into our gym clothes, and then we'd work out side by side, pushing each other to go further. It felt like we were building a life together in every sense. That's when I first saw Baldy. At first, I didn't think much of him. He was just another coach at the gym. Baldy was fit, sure, ripped even, but I didn't think he'd be any different from the other trainers. He was friendly, always saying hi when we came in. But something about him started to feel off. I saw the way he looked at Jane. It was subtle at first, but I noticed. It was always that same lingering gaze, the way his eyes would trace her figure as she worked out. And honestly, I didn't think too much of it. I mean, we were at the gym, right? People look at each other. It's natural. But it wasn't just that. I began to feel a shift in the way she responded to his attention. She was getting fit, more fit than I had ever seen her. And the attention didn't seem to bother her. If anything, it felt like she was basking in it. And maybe I was being paranoid, but I began to feel the jealousy creeping in. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I could sense something was different. She wasn't the same as she used to be. I saw the way other men, especially Baldy, looked at her. She didn't seem to mind it. She seemed to like it. There was one day that made it all feel so real. We were on the elliptical machine side by side. In front of us was a cable machine, and I could see Baldy in the distance, shirtless, doing crossovers. I turned to Jane, and I gave her that look. The kind of look I give when something's clearly bothering me. The kind of look that says, "Can you believe this guy?" She didn't even respond to me. She was staring at him, a slight smile playing at her lips. Then she wet her lips, and I swear, at that moment, my stomach dropped. Baldy saw her, and I saw that grin on his face. That look, like he knew something I didn't, just crushed me. When we got into the car afterward, I said, "Did you see him? The way he's showing off?" Jane didn't even bat an eye. She told me, "I didn't notice," but I knew better. She had noticed. She had been looking at him, enjoying the attention. I called her out on it, but she brushed it off, saying she hadn't meant to stare. But the damage was done. I began to notice more. The way they would talk at the gym, the way she would laugh a little too much at his jokes, the way her eyes would linger on him for just a little too long. At first, I thought it was just me being insecure, but as time went on, I couldn't deny it anymore. Something was happening, and it wasn't just the flirtations. There was something deeper. She was enjoying the attention, and it hurt. The more I saw it, the more I became suspicious. I wasn't sure if she was crossing a line, but the more I watched, the more I realized she was at least inching toward it. There was a growing distance between us. I'd try to talk to her, but she'd deflect, claiming that I was overreacting. I asked her to change gyms. I thought that would help. She agreed, but nothing really changed. She seemed resentful. She didn't understand why I couldn't just trust her, why I couldn't be happy for her. The more she pulled away, the more I felt like I was losing her. It was like I was trying to hold on to something that was slipping through my fingers. She was changing, and so was I, but I wasn't sure we were changing in the same direction anymore. The gym that had once brought us closer together was now a battleground, and it wasn't long before I realized the war wasn't just about fitness. It was about something deeper, something I hadn't seen coming. As I tried to pull closer, I was met with more distance. The small things, the subtle changes in her behavior, the way she would talk about Baldy, became harder to ignore. She was spending more time at the gym, and I was at work, stuck in a routine that kept me away from her. Our lives were diverging, and I could feel the chasm widening. It was supposed to be a fresh start for us. Instead, it became the beginning of the end, and I didn't even see it coming. It started so small, just little moments that at first seemed innocent enough. I never thought much about it. You know, the kind of stuff you brush off because it's nothing, right? It's easy to tell yourself that you're just being paranoid. At least that's what I thought at the time. It was in the gym where it all began. I'd noticed her laughing at Baldy's jokes a little too much. She had a lightness to her that I hadn't seen in a while, and he was the one who made her laugh. It wasn't anything outrageous, just a comment here, a playful exchange there. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She'd always been kind, always friendly, but this felt different, a little more flirtatious. But I told myself, I'm just being insecure. She wasn't doing anything wrong, right? Then there was the day on the elliptical. I'll never forget it. We were side by side, working hard, just like we'd done so many times before. But today something shifted. I noticed Jane wasn't staring at her own reflection in the mirror like she usually did, checking her form. No, today her eyes were locked on Baldy. He was standing across the gym, doing his usual thing, exercising, showing off his muscles. And I could feel her gaze, unrelenting, almost like she was mesmerized. And Baldy, of course, he saw it. He always did. He knew what he was doing. I watched him flash that smug grin of his, the one I'd seen so many times before. He was basking in the attention, and my wife was giving it to him. I remember it so clearly the moment my heart sank. She licked her lips, a subtle movement, but one that pierced right through me. My stomach dropped. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Every fiber of my being screamed that something wasn't right, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. This wasn't just innocent admiration. There was something more happening here, a connection, one I wasn't a part of. But when we got into the car that day, I tried to brush it off. Maybe it was just me, I thought. So I said, "Did you see that? The way Baldy was showing off?" She just looked at me, confused. What? No, I didn't notice, she said. I told her, you were staring at him, and she quickly replied, oh, I must have been thinking about something else. That response, though, so casual, so quick to dismiss, didn't sit right with me. It felt wrong. Deep down, I knew something was happening, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it yet. From that day forward, I couldn't stop noticing. Every time we went to the gym, it seemed like Baldy was finding more ways to get close to her. At first, it was just small talk, but then it was more. He started offering to help her with her workouts more than the usual. Hey, I can spot you, kind of thing. One day, Jane was doing squats on the Smith machine, and there he was, standing next to her. He put his hands on her waist, guiding her, helping her through the motion. My chest tightened. It was too much, too intimate. I watched as Jane finished her set, and when she stepped away to rest, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I stormed up to him. I got it from here, I said, my voice cold and sharp. I don't think he expected me to confront him like that, but he just smiled and said, no prob, buddy. That word, buddy, he said it to everyone, but it hit differently now. It was the same word he used every time, but now it felt like a jab, like he was trying to undermine me, like he was trying to let me know that he was more than just a coach. He was someone Jane was listening to, someone Jane was paying attention to. I could feel my pulse racing as I turned to Jane. She looked at me, her expression one of surprise, maybe even a little annoyance. My God, OP, she said, her voice laced with disbelief. I couldn't contain the frustration anymore. We'll discuss this at home, I said, trying to hold my composure. But inside, everything was falling apart. Something was happening, something I couldn't stop. When we got home, I tried to explain. I told her how I saw Baldy's behavior, how I felt like he was crossing a line, how I saw how much he was enjoying his attention. I was angry, hurt, and I couldn't understand why she didn't see it the same way. I tried to tell her how wrong it felt, how it seemed like they were becoming too close. But she just called me immature, jealous, and accused me of not trusting her. She said, I would never cheat on you, OP. I know he's flirting, but I don't see it that way. She brushed it off. She told me I was overreacting. That's when I realized it wasn't just Baldy's behavior that hurt, it was hers too. The fact that she was dismissing my concerns, that she wasn't acknowledging how wrong this all felt, cut deeper than anything Baldy had done. It was like she was telling me, you're the problem, not him. We argued for hours, but in the end, we made a decision. I agreed to change gyms. I thought it would fix things. But the truth is, it didn't. It wasn't just the gym. It was something deeper than that. Our relationship was starting to fray at the edges, and nothing I did could seem to repair it. I kept looking for signs, clues, anything that might prove I wasn't crazy. I started paying closer attention. I looked at her phone one day, just to see if anything was off. There was nothing obvious, no text messages, no calls. But then I thought to check her map history, and there it was. I couldn't believe my eyes. Her routine had changed. The map showed house, workhouse, gym, house. That was the usual pattern. But then one night, I checked again. Her route didn't end at the gym. It led somewhere else, a residential area I didn't recognize. That's when everything clicked into place. The truth was clearer than I wanted to admit. Jane hadn't just been going to the gym. She had been meeting Baldy outside of it. And I had no idea where or when it had started, but I knew it had to be more than just helping her with workouts. I confronted her again, but she still didn't admit anything. She just kept telling me that I was the one with the problem, that I needed to trust her. But the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach wouldn't go away. It was all so much worse than I had imagined. The lies, the evasions, the dismissals, they were too much. I knew I couldn't let it go. I had to know for sure. So I started looking deeper, looking for answers, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I started following her. It felt wrong, but I had to know. And that's when I saw them, together, laughing, walking hand in hand, acting like a couple. I couldn't breathe. My heart stopped. They went into a residential area I didn't know, and I tried to follow them phone in hand, ready to record it all. But as I was about to take the next step, Mr. P, the condo guard, caught me. He asked, "Can I help you?" I swallowed hard, trying to stay calm, and replied, "What a nice couple. Do you know them?" He didn't know anything, but he said he thought they were newlyweds. Newlyweds? It was the last thing I expected him to say. My world spun, my heart ached. This was real. And I knew it wasn't just some innocent flirtation, it was an affair. I called Jane right away. She didn't pick up. I tried to get more answers. But as the night dragged on, I couldn't stop thinking about what I had just seen. They were together, alone, somewhere I hadn't been. I had to face the truth. And when I did, it hit harder than anything I'd ever felt in my life. I knew then that everything was about to change. There was no turning back. The weight of the truth was suffocating. I had been carrying this burden for weeks, months even, wondering, questioning, piecing together the small clues that didn't make sense at first. But now I was certain. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see what was right in front of me. I had to know, without a shadow of a doubt, if what I suspected was real. And so, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed her. I hated myself for doing it, but I had to. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. I couldn't keep living in a haze, caught between denial and suspicion. I needed clarity, even if it broke me. I waited until she left the house one afternoon. I knew she'd be heading to the gym, but instead of following the usual routine, I trailed behind her, keeping a safe distance. My heart was pounding in my chest, a mixture of fear and anger gnawing at me. I drove through the streets, trying to keep my cool, reminding myself that I was only looking for confirmation. I wasn't going to act on impulse, not yet, but I had to see them together. When we reached the gym parking lot, I parked a few spots away and watched her get out of her car. I could see the excitement in her step, the way she glanced around before heading inside. I felt a chill run down my spine. I stayed there for what felt like hours, but it was only a few minutes before I saw him. Baldy. He was standing by the entrance, casually leaning against a post, his muscles flexing as he greeted her with a smile. They were talking, laughing, almost like they were in their own little world. He brushed his hand across her shoulder in that way that made my blood boil. She smiled at him, a genuine smile that I hadn't seen her give me in so long. It was the kind of smile I used to get when she was still in love with me. I stayed in the car, my hands trembling on the steering wheel, unable to move, unable to look away. I watched them, and with each passing moment, it felt like my heart was being ripped from my chest. She wasn't just talking to him. She wasn't just flirting. No, this was something else. This was real. She was his. They laughed together, her head leaning into his shoulder for a second, as if they had known each other for years. They had no care for the world around them, no concern for who might be watching. Then, without hesitation, they held hands, in public. It was like a punch to my gut. That simple act, so small, so seemingly innocent, was a revelation. This wasn't just about her enjoying attention. This was betrayal. This was her choosing him. They didn't see me. I wasn't close enough, but it didn't matter. My mind was reeling, spinning with anger, hurt, disbelief. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, what I had been ignoring for so long. They were together. They went into a residential area I didn't recognize, their bodies still close, connected. I couldn't follow them any further, not without raising suspicion, not without crossing a line I couldn't come back from. But I didn't need to. I already had enough. I drove home, my head swimming, my heart heavy with the weight of everything I had just seen. It was real. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She was with him, and what hurt the most was that she had made that choice. I wasn't just losing my wife. I was losing the woman I thought I knew, the woman who promised to be with me through thick and thin. And now I was just a bystander in my own marriage, helpless as I watched her walk away with him. When I got home, she wasn't there yet. I sat in the car for a moment, trying to steady my breath, my mind. I wanted to break down, to scream, to do anything that would make this pain go away. But I knew I had to confront her. I had to face the woman who had betrayed me, the woman I had trusted more than anyone in the world. I heard the front door open. She had returned. I could feel my body tense up, my fists clenched involuntarily. I walked into the living room and saw her there, standing by the doorway with that same smile on her face. The smile I hadn't seen in weeks, but this time I wasn't going to hold back. This time I had all the pieces. I couldn't let her talk her way out of this anymore. I walked straight up to her, and before she could even ask how my day was, I blurted it out. I know everything, Jane. I know about Baldy. I saw you. Together. Her face drained of color, but she didn't speak. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. I had the proof, the evidence that everything I suspected was true. She stood there frozen, trying to collect her thoughts. The silence was suffocating. "What do you mean you know everything?" she asked, her voice weak. I could see the guilt in her eyes now, the fear, but there was something else too. Something that made my stomach turn. It was almost as if she knew this moment was coming, like she'd been waiting for me to finally wake up. "I saw you with him. You're with him. You're choosing him over me." My voice broke, the rage mixing with the sorrow. I couldn't keep it together any longer. Why Jane? Why him? After everything we've been through, why him? She looked away, tears starting to form in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to happen, OP," she whispered. It just did." Her words didn't make any sense to me. How could she say it just happened? How could she let it go this far, with a man who wasn't even a stranger? She had made a choice. This wasn't an accident. And that's when I felt it, the full force of betrayal crashing down on me. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. I'd given her everything, my love, my trust, my loyalty. And she had taken all of that, thrown it away like it meant nothing. I had to get out. I had to take control. I couldn't let her lie to me anymore. I grabbed my phone and began recording her. "Do you love him, Jane?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. She just stood there staring at the floor as if she couldn't even look at me anymore. I asked again, louder this time. "Do you love him?" Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling. "No, I don't love him," she said. But there was no conviction in her words. It wasn't enough. It wasn't even close. "That's not the answer I need," I said, my voice shaking with emotion. "You don't get to lie to me anymore." I stood up and hit the table with my fist. "Say something, Jane. Anything. Tell me why you did this." She opened her mouth to speak, but her words were cut off by her own sobs. She was shaking now, her tears streaming down her face. It was almost like she was apologizing, but it wasn't enough. It didn't change what had happened. It didn't change the fact that she'd chosen him. It didn't change the heartbreak I felt in that moment. "I'm done," I said, my voice steady but broken inside. "My lawyer will be in touch. You need to get a lawyer too." I watched her pack her things. Every movement she made seemed slow, deliberate, like she was trying to grasp the reality of it all, but it was already slipping away from her. It was too late for apologies. It was too late for anything. As I stood there watching her walk out of our home, the home we had built together, my mind raced. I couldn't make sense of it. I couldn't understand how she could do this to me. But then a thought hit me. She wasn't the woman I married anymore. The person standing in front of me wasn't the same Jane. She was a stranger, a person who had made a choice that tore our lives apart. She closed the door behind her, and I sank to my knees, the full weight of the situation crashing over me. I had just lost everything. The days after the explosive reveal were the longest, most agonizing days of my life. It was like everything I'd known, everything I'd worked for, had been ripped away in a single brutal instant. I couldn't even begin to process what had happened, but my mind wouldn't stop replaying that moment. It was like a loop that I couldn't escape from, seeing her with him, laughing, holding hands, in the house that was supposed to be our sanctuary, my sanctuary, the place where we had built our life, and now it was a battlefield. The shock hit hard at first, but it was quickly replaced with an overwhelming numbness. I don't think I slept for the first 3 nights after she left. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. But it wasn't the woman I loved anymore. No, it was the stranger who betrayed me. I could feel the weight of the betrayal in my chest, like a 1,000-pound anchor dragging me deeper and deeper into despair. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't pull myself out. I couldn't stop thinking about what she had done, about the man she had chosen over me. Baldy. The name felt like acid on my tongue every time I thought about it. I had trusted him. He had been in my house, in my gym, right there in my life. And now he had taken everything I loved. They had taken everything. I couldn't believe how easily it had all unraveled. It had started with something so small, so seemingly harmless, and yet here I was, broken and alone. I kept wondering where I went wrong. Was it me? Was I not enough? I had given her my heart, my loyalty, my trust. I had been there through everything, supporting her, loving her, building a life together. And yet, none of that seemed to matter when the right guy came along. I felt betrayed not just by her, but by my own stupidity for not seeing it sooner. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the fallout, the aftermath. I had to tell my family. The thought of it made my stomach turn. How do you explain something like this to your parents, to your siblings? How do you say, my wife cheated on me with our gym coach? The shame, the humiliation, it was suffocating. My dad was the first to pick up the phone. I tried to say it casually, but my voice cracked. "Dad, we need to talk." He came over as soon as he could, and I could see the concern in his eyes even before I said anything. I didn't want to tell him, but I had no choice. When the words came out, they felt like daggers, like they weren't even coming from me. They were coming from a place I didn't even recognize. "Jane, she's been cheating on me." My dad didn't say anything at first. He just stood there processing it. My mom, who had loved Jane like a daughter, came over with tears in her eyes. "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry." She didn't know what to say either. It felt like everyone I loved was mourning, not just the loss of my marriage, but of the person they thought Jane was. No one knew how to handle it. The worst part was seeing the sympathy in their eyes. My family was great. They loved me. They cared about me. But I couldn't stand the look of pity. It made me feel so exposed, like everyone knew something I didn't. I felt like a failure, like I had let them down somehow, like they were all judging me for something that was out of my control. I hated feeling like the weak link in the family chain, the one who couldn't keep his own marriage intact. I had always been the one who took care of things, who solved problems. And now I couldn't even solve this. The weight of it was unbearable. The shame, the anger. I felt so isolated, even though I was surrounded by people who wanted to help. They didn't know what to say, how to comfort me, and that made it even worse. They didn't get it. They didn't understand how deep the wound was, how everything I had believed in had been shattered. I began to pack that same day. I couldn't stay in that house. I couldn't breathe in the place where we'd built everything together. It wasn't just the memories, it was the smell of her perfume on the pillow, the pictures of us on the walls, the little things that we had shared over the years. Every corner of that house reminded me of a love that no longer existed. And so, I began to pack. Slowly at first, unsure of what to take, unsure of where I would go. But I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't stay there. As I packed, I kept thinking about how easily everything had unraveled. I had always prided myself on being a stable, dependable guy. But this was the one thing I couldn't fix. I didn't know how to move forward, how to pick up the pieces of my broken heart. It felt impossible. How do you rebuild after something like this? I started making plans to leave. My parents suggested I stay with them, at least for a little while. But I wasn't sure I could even face them after what had happened. My pride, my dignity, it had all been stripped away. I didn't want to be seen as the guy who couldn't keep his marriage intact. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't stay in that house. The memories would haunt me, and I wouldn't be able to heal if I stayed. The thought of moving back to my parents' house felt like a failure. But in reality, it was the only option I had left. I packed a suitcase, grabbed my things, and walked out of the house. The door closed behind me with a finality that echoed in my chest. I was leaving the life I thought I would have forever. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. As I left, I felt like a part of me was dying. I couldn't even explain it to myself, let alone anyone else. It was like I had been living in a dream, and I had just woken up to find that everything I thought was real had been a lie. The anger, the confusion, the sorrow, it all mixed together into this suffocating fog that clouded my thoughts. How could she do this to me? How could I have been so blind? I didn't want to be weak. I didn't want to let her see how much she had broken me. But deep down, I was torn apart. I couldn't stop the tears, the pain. I had given everything to her, to us, and now I was left with nothing. I drove to my parents' house trying to block out the endless thoughts that flooded my mind.
But no matter how far I drove, the reality of it all kept chasing me. She was gone. He had taken her. The life we had built was over, and I didn't know how to put the pieces back together. When I got to my parents' house, I sat down on the couch, staring at the walls. I don't even know how long I sat there, motionless, numb. It felt like I had lost everything. My wife, my dignity, my sense of self. And there was nothing I could do to fix it. The next few days were a blur. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to deal with the pity, the concern. I didn't want to hear, "It's going to be okay," because it wasn't. Nothing was okay. I was broken, and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. The only thing I knew for sure was that I couldn't go back. There was no going back to the life I had before. I had to find a way forward, even though I had no idea how. I just wanted to heal. I just wanted to move on. But the pain was so overwhelming, so all-encompassing, that I didn't know how to start. I was lost. I had no idea where to go or what to do next. But I knew one thing. I couldn't let her win. I couldn't let this define me. The decision to leave was something I had known was coming for weeks, but knowing it and accepting it were two completely different things. It had been gnawing at me, this sense that everything I had built, everything I had fought for, was slipping through my fingers. But it wasn't just about the betrayal anymore. It was about the person I had become in the wake of it. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was devastated, yes, but there was something deeper happening too. Something I wasn't prepared for. I felt small. The man I had been was buried under a pile of anger, sadness, and confusion. I looked in the mirror some days, and I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. I had given my everything to Jane, and she had shattered me. But it was more than just the affair. It was the way she had pulled away so completely, so coldly. The way she acted like it was nothing. The lies, the deception, the manipulation, it was all too much. The emotional collapse had been slow at first, like a crack appearing in the foundation of a house. But it became clear to me one afternoon, when I was standing in our living room, staring at the empty spaces where our photos used to hang. I had been numb for so long, but I could feel it now. The weight of everything we had built together had turned into a crushing burden. The silence between us, the empty echo of her absence, felt suffocating. I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. The memories were haunting me, lingering in every corner. It wasn't just the good memories either, the ones of us laughing, of being in love. It was the bad ones too. The arguments, the cracks in the relationship that I had ignored, the signs I had missed. It felt like I was drowning in everything I had once loved. I kept thinking of the day she left, the way she packed her suitcase so quickly, like she couldn't get away from me fast enough. But I also thought of all the little things. The way she had smiled at Baldy in the gym, the way she laughed at his jokes, the way her eyes lit up when he looked at her. I couldn't ignore it anymore. It wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't just a lapse in judgment. No, this was a choice. She chose him. She chose him over me. And the worst part? She didn't even look back. I had spent so many nights wondering what went wrong, what I could have done differently. I tried to fix things to make it work. I tried to go to therapy. I tried to talk to her to make sense of the mess we had created. But all she did was dismiss me. She didn't care about fixing it. She didn't care about us. She cared about what she wanted, and that wasn't me anymore. The decision to leave came in a flash. It wasn't a moment of clarity where everything clicked into place. It wasn't some heroic, dramatic choice. It was just something I had to do. I couldn't stay in that house. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know what had happened. I couldn't keep pretending that the life we had was still there, that the love was still there. I had packed a bag, just a few essentials, clothes, some toiletries, and a few photos I couldn't bear to leave behind. I didn't even bother leaving a note. What was there to say? I'm sorry? I forgive you? No, this wasn't about her anymore. This was about me, about reclaiming something for myself, about finding a way to move on, to survive. I walked out of that house, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't relief, not entirely, but it was a moment of clarity. I had to go. I had to leave. The hardest part, though, wasn't the physical act of leaving. It wasn't the packing or the drive away from the place we had shared so much. It was the emotional tipping point, the moment I fully accepted that our marriage was over. Jane had been gone for days, but in that moment, I realized that I had been gone too. I had been emotionally detached for so long, and now it was just the final straw. There was no going back from this. I remember pulling out of the driveway, watching the house fade into the distance in my rearview mirror. It felt like a death. like a part of me had died and I wasn't sure who I was anymore. This was my home. I had built it with Jane. I had given her everything, and now I was walking away, leaving it all behind. And even though I knew it was the right decision, it didn't stop the heartbreak. I felt like I was losing the person I had been, the person who had trusted, loved, and believed in the future. I was walking away from the man who thought he had everything, who thought he had love, and stepping into the unknown. But in that moment, I also realized something else, something I hadn't fully accepted before. I had to stop trying to fix it. I had to stop chasing something that wasn't there anymore. I had been clinging to the idea of us, to the image of the person she had been before all this happened. But the truth was, she wasn't that person anymore. She had made her choice. She had chosen him. And now it was time for me to choose myself. I didn't leave with any grand plan. I didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do. But I knew one thing. I was never going to let her have the power to destroy me. I was never going to let this define who I was. So I packed my things, left the house, and drove away. I didn't look back. I couldn't afford to. Looking back now, it's almost like I can see the whole picture in front of me, every detail clear as day. At the time, though, I was blind. I didn't want to believe what my instincts were telling me. I didn't want to face the possibility that Jane, the woman I'd trusted more than anyone in my life, could betray me. I told myself over and over again that I was overthinking it, that I was just being insecure, that I needed to let go of my doubts. And for so long, I did. I ignored the signs, brushed off my gut feelings, hoping everything would work itself out. But now, after everything that's happened, I realize that I should have trusted myself more. I should have listened when that little voice inside me said, "Something's off." There were so many moments, small things, things I dismissed as nothing. Her changing behaviors, the way she'd smile a little too brightly when Baldy walked by, the little hints of distance that crept in between us. But I didn't see them for what they were. I refused to. I couldn't. I thought that if I acknowledged it, I'd lose her. Lose everything. And so I kept quiet. I convinced myself that things would be fine, that it was just a phase. But it wasn't. And I paid the price for that. I think the worst part wasn't just the affair itself. Yes, that hurt more than I could ever describe. It's the kind of pain that doesn't just sting in the moment, but lingers, festers, and eats away at you from the inside. But what really crushed me was the lies. The manipulation. The way she let me live in a world where nothing made sense, where I was constantly second-guessing myself, questioning everything I thought was true. The fact that she didn't have the decency to tell me the truth, that she let me continue on in ignorance until I was forced to confront it, that's what broke me. That's what really hurt. She didn't even have the courage to come clean. It was as if I didn't deserve to know the truth until I dragged it out of her. At the time, I couldn't understand it. How could she do this to me? How could someone I had shared my life with, someone I had loved so deeply, betray me like that? I still don't understand it fully. But I've come to accept that I never will. Some things in life just don't make sense, no matter how much you try to piece them together. And that's one of them. She made her choice. She chose him over me. She chose to live a lie, to keep up the charade, to play me for a fool. And no matter how much I loved her, no matter how much I wanted to make it work, that was the reality. The pain still lingers. It's not something that just disappears overnight. I still wake up sometimes, lying in bed, thinking about the past. The moments we shared that felt so real at the time. And then I remember what she did, what she allowed to happen behind my back. There are days when I feel angry. Angry at her, angry at myself, angry at the whole situation. How could I have been so blind? How could I not see it? But then I remind myself, that was the person I was. I was in love. I wanted to believe in her, in us, more than anything else. And I didn't want to see the truth. But now I'm rebuilding, slowly, one day at a time. The process isn't linear. It isn't neat. Some days I feel like I've made incredible progress. I wake up, go to the gym, focus on myself, and I start to feel like I'm getting back to who I was before all of this. I've learned so much about myself in the past few months, about what I'm capable of, about my own strength. I've come to realize that I can't depend on anyone else to make me happy. My happiness, my well-being, it's in my hands, not anyone else's. But then there are days when I feel the weight of it all again. Days when the anger rises, when the betrayal stabs me all over again, fresh and raw. There are nights when I lay awake and think about what I lost. I think about the life we were supposed to have, the dreams we shared, the future I thought we were building together. It's hard to let go of that, especially when you realize it was all an illusion. It's like walking through fog, and every step you take, you hope the fog will clear, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it feels like it will never go away. But I keep walking. I keep moving forward, even when it feels impossible. The biggest lesson I've learned through all of this is that I can't hold on to the past. I can't keep replaying the moments when things were good, wishing I could go back. Those days are gone. Jane is gone, and I have to let that go. The version of her I loved, that person is no longer in my life. And no matter how hard it is, I have to come to terms with that. I've learned that in order to heal, I need to accept that some things in life aren't meant to last. They're not meant to be permanent. And the more I hold on, the more I'll be stuck in a past that doesn't exist anymore. I've started thinking about the future again. It's a strange thing to realize that you can still have a future after everything has fallen apart. For so long, I thought that my life was over, that the moment she walked out, everything I knew and loved disappeared with her. But slowly, I'm starting to see a glimmer of what's next. I don't know exactly what that is yet, but I know I'm stronger than I was before. And I'm not going to let this define me. It doesn't get to dictate who I am or what I do. Right now, I'm focusing on myself. I'm taking the time I need to heal, to rebuild my life, piece by piece. I've been diving into things that bring me joy, things that remind me of who I am outside of this mess. I'm learning to trust myself again, to trust my instincts. And I'm realizing that the pain won't last forever. It may never fully go away, but I'll learn to live with it. It won't have the same hold on me as it does now. It's a long road. It's a road that's full of uncertainty. But for the first time in a long time, I'm starting to believe that I'll get through this. I'll come out stronger. One day, I'll look back on this and realize that it didn't break me. It changed me. Yes, but it didn't break me. I'm rebuilding. Slowly, but I'm rebuilding. The hardest part wasn't the affair. It wasn't the lies or the pain of catching her in the act, or the months of uncertainty and heartbreak that followed. No, the hardest part was realizing that she never loved me the way I loved her. She never cared for me with the depth and devotion that I had given her. I had loved her unconditionally, with all my heart, believing that no matter what came our way, we would make it through together. But the truth hit me like a cold slap in the face. She didn't feel the same. She didn't love me the way I loved her. And that truth changed everything. That was the last time I ever saw her. The last time I ever allowed someone to tear me down like that, to make me feel so small, so insignificant. I will never let anyone take away my dignity, my sense of self again. Not her, not Baldy, not anyone. I walked away that day and I never looked back, because sometimes you have to walk away from something that's broken beyond repair. You have to let go of what you thought was your future in order to make space for the life that's waiting for you. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm rebuilding my life, one day at a time, one step at a time. And this time,